Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the PC Boys Podcast. I am your host, Logan Locke. Before we get started today, I uploaded a new video to Rumble earlier talking about the whole Donald Trump verdict, giving my thoughts on the whole situation and whatnot. So if you're interested in that, of course, I'll have the link tree in the description down below so you can find my Rumble channel. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So today we're mainly going to be discussing Venom 3 because there's been a little bit of a, expansion onto, Venom and what's going to be going on there. And we are also going to be talking about Stellar Blade, and I'm going to be giving my review for Stellar Blade. But I will do the Stellar Blade review after I talk about Venom because the Venom stuff should be much more brief than my Stellar Blade review. And I haven't done a review in a while, so it's going to be very interesting. But before, of course, we do that, I do, of course, want to quickly discuss some Black Ops stuff and some Deadpool and Wolverine stuff. So, it is confirmed that with the pre-order of Black Ops 6, we are getting some skins, of course, which we're used to. However, Brutus is in here and another version of Klaus. So I'm very interested to see if Brutus actually is coming back in a story way or if it's just a skin thing and nothing more. And same thing with Klaus. We know Klaus in the Dark Ether storyline is canon, but Brutus is not. So I'm very, interested to see what they do there. I don't know who the other two operators are. I think that this one right here is probably going to be Adler, basing upon the sunglasses that are on his chest region. But yeah. These are the pre-order items, skin-wise, for Black Ops 6, and we are getting Gobblegums back for Black Ops 6, which I think is great. Obviously, here on the channel, I haven't talked much about Call of Duty in a long time, and that's simply because Call of Duty has gone downhill, and I don't think it's worth covering until the next game comes out, and Black Ops 6 actually might be good. It has had 4 years to be made, and it's been play-tested for 2 years now, so I'm really having high hopes for this game, because if this game fails, then Call of Duty is pretty dead. But yeah, so Gobblegums are coming back. We don't know exactly what Gobblegums are going to be in the game, or if there's going to be returning Gobblegums, or if they're all going to be new. We don't know, but we'll figure out, obviously, probably on June 9th, I believe, when Xbox has their showcase, and, of course, the Call of Duty Direct right after the showcase. And for weapon variants, for the pre-order bonus, these are the weapon variants that we're going to get. It looks like we're going to be getting the Locust, or a version of the Locust. This looks like a M4 weapon. Who knows? It could be the ICR, or an earlier version. Maybe it's the Glail or something. It obviously has a underbarrel attachment on it as well. This one looks like a PDW. I can't tell if this is a lever action shotgun, but that's kind of what this looks like to me. And then, of course, a knife variant, which looks like it's got like Dark Ether crystals on it, which is cool. And, of course, there will be the Black Cell Battle Pass as well with, probably like 30 or 50 token skips. So that's basically the pre-orders for Black Ops 6 right now. I haven't done a podcast about Black Ops 6, and that's simply because no trailers have come out yet, but don't get me wrong, guys. After the Xbox Showcase and after the Call of Duty Direct on June 9th, I will be covering all of that and basically giving my thoughts on everything that's discussed that day. So stay tuned. Black Ops 6 stuff is coming to the podcast, and we'll be talking about it. And a little bit of Deadpool and Wolverine stuff. They have revealed the popcorn bucket. And Wolverine is funny. For those of you that don't know, there was some controversy behind the Dune 2 popcorn bucket, basically saying it looks like a sex toy. It seems like Deadpool's going the same route with their popcorn bucket. I think it's really funny. They did a trailer on it the other day, but yeah, it's pretty funny. I have no doubt it's going to sell very well, but yeah, I thought I would just, cover that little bit of stuff. Okay, but on to the serious big stuff. So, last time on the podcast when we discussed about Venom 3, we discussed about Lasher being one of the potential villains in the movie, or potentially the main villain. However, we have gotten some more updates in the realm of scoopers, and you never know what's actually going to be true or not. But I figured it would be, we should discuss it because I think that there could be some credibility to this. So a long time ago, and probably earlier on in the podcast when I've talked about Venom 3, like a while ago, like no time recent, we talked about the fact that Venom was going to be going to New York, or at least finding that his universe's version of Peter Parker, who is like a 14, 15-year-old kid, maybe 13-year-old, and be tasked with protecting him. Protecting him from who? We didn't really know and stuff, and now we're coming to find out that apparently Patrick Mulligan from Venom Let There Be Carnage was set up to be Toxin. And he is going to be the main villain of the movie, and he is going to get an army of symbiotes to go after Venom and Peter Parker. Why that's the case, I have no fucking idea. It sounds stupid because there is no real reason for Toxin or Patrick Mulligan to go after Peter Parker. Venom, sure. Peter Parker, though, very weird. I don't know how they're gonna write that, but that's a little worrisome. And of course, outside of Lasher that we talked about, which seems like, will make an appearance in this movie and be one of the villains, Scream is going to be in the movie, which, of course, if you played the recent Marvel Spider-Man 2, she was in that game. There is some potential for other symbiotes to appear. I hope that we get Agony. Agony is my favorite female symbiote and probably in my top 3 favorite symbiotes behind Venom and Carnage. I really like Agony, even though she's a very minor character in the comics and one that is not really ever used outside of like Lethal Protector. I love Agony. I don't know. There's just something about her design that I really like. And of course there's Phage. That's a character that they've yet to use. And all these symbiotes, by the way, are a part of the Life Foundation. So all the Life Foundation symbiotes are Riot, which we saw in Venom 1, so he's out of the table. Phage, which I talked about in the last podcast as well. He's like the orangish yellow symbiote. Then you have Scream. She also is like yellowish orange, but she's mainly yellow. Agony, who's like a pinkish purple symbiote, and of course now we're getting Toxin, and Toxin is the offspring of Carnage, and he's more of a good guy than anything, but in this movie he's going to be the villain, so that's going to be very interesting. On top of that, there's going to be another enemy faction called the Jury, I guess, and they're going to have like mech suits and stuff, and their whole goal is to destroy symbiotes. So Venom is going to have to fight an army of symbiotes led by Toxin, aka Patrick Mulligan, and this armored mercenary group called the Jury that are out to kill symbiotes. And Venom's going to have to protect Peter Parker from everybody. Now, action-wise, I think it's a cool idea. It raises the stakes. Writing-wise, though, I'm very concerned. If this happens to be true, this entire plot, that's a lot of symbiotes that you're going to have to deal with. On top of that, on the Jury side, that's a lot of characters you have to deal with as well. How are you going to write compelling stories for why Patrick Mulligan wants to kill this version of Peter Parker, who's a kid in this universe? And how are you going to write the Jury and why they also would want to go after Peter Parker? It just seems like too much, right? It's not like one symbiote versus another symbiote with reasons to why they want to kill the other person. No, this movie's like, we're going to throw in an army of symbiotes, some fucking, mercenary group with high-tech armor called the Jury, and Venom's going to have to protect Peter from both of them because it'll look cool, I guess. My worry about Venom 3 is the writing. I think that the concept of Venom fighting a symbiote army and a, mercenary army with, like, exosuits and stuff, I think it's a cool idea when you're talking about it from, like, a spectacle sense, from, like, watching action sequences. I think it could be very cool there. But writing this, how does that work? And then with Peter Parker, is because in this, storyline I'm talking about, it says Venom needs to save San Francisco. So is Venom going to New York to kidnap Peter Parker and then bring him back to San Francisco? Or is Peter like on a field trip in San Francisco? That would make sense. But if he's actually going to New York City to get Peter Parker, that's stupid. That's got to be one of the dumbest plot points ever. And then bring him back to San Francisco. Like, that wouldn't cause an international, or well, at least a national incident of a kidnapping, right? So yeah, I'm concerned about this Venom, leak. It's not even the Peter Parker stuff. That's not even the stuff I'm mostly concerned about. I think it could cause a good dynamic between Eddie and Peter in this universe. But the jury and the way that they're dealing with the symbiote army, it seems like way too much in a movie, right? Spider-Man No Way Home had me a little bit concerned because of juggling all of those different villains around and stuff, and they did a good job, but that was also Marvel Studios doing it. And even though Marvel Studios has made quite a few bad projects, as of recently, I still trust them over Sony to write something capably, especially after Madam Web. I am concerned though for Venom 3. I think that this is too much for one movie. I think either focus on the army of symbiotes or the jury. I think focus on one villain group. Don't focus on two, because yes, action wise it raises the stakes and stuff, but it's not gonna make sense, and everybody's gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? So that's what we know about Venom 3 as of right now. With Venom 3, there's so many conflicting things that we're hearing. It's kind of like Spider-Man 4 at this point, where there's a lot of conflicting things. But the only concrete thing that I can say about Venom 3 is it's going to be a very interesting ending, for sure, especially if these reports are true. Venom, I think Venom 3 is getting its first trailer next week around the 6th or 7th, or maybe the 8th. So let's just put a time frame between the 6th and the 9th of June. Venom 3 will probably have its first trailer drop. That's my guess. At least that's kind of like the rumor mill right now as to like when we should expect the first trailers, between June 6th and June 9th. So somewhere in there we should be getting the Venom 3 trailer. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, I'm not claiming that I have inside sources or anything, because I don't. I'm kind of just going off of what everybody else is predicting at the moment. But if we don't get a trailer, then we don't. But obviously they got to start marketing and getting the word out that, yeah. It also makes sense why they would do it next week as well, because the new Bad Boys movie is supposed to be coming out to theaters. So it makes sense as to why they would put out a Venom trailer to attach it to that movie. So it makes sense. But yeah, so we'll see what happens next week. But that is all I have for Venom. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we finally get to do a video game review. And I can't fucking remember the last one that I did. Maybe I did one for Helldivers 2? I can't remember. If I didn't, that's a shame, because Helldivers 2 is a great game. So, Stellar Blade. I need to preface this. I love Stellar Blade, but the game has some big issues, okay? Gameplay-wise, this game is phenomenal. Easily a 9 out of 10 on the gameplay scale. The boss fights are fun. The combat is engaging. And the, mechanics in the game, from like your beta skills that you can use, and I'm not kidding, that's actually what they named it, the beta skills that you can use in the game, and your I forgot what the name of the other one is, but it's basically like you have two different meters. If you parry attacks, you build up the beta meter, and then if you dodge, you time your dodges right, you increase it's like a red meter, and that also performs some cool attacks. That was also very well done. There's also like this ultimate ability where you're like invincible for a period of time, called Tacky, which is literally, there for Tachyon, which is also like one of the girls that like Eve knows, part of her squadron that dies and then comes back to life as in Tiba, and yeah, anyways. It's a pretty cool mechanic in the game. Think of it as like Surge Mode from Spider-Man 2, like you go into this basically like unkillable state and you're just beating the absolute fucking shit out of everything in front of you. That's basically what Tacky Mode is in Stellar Blade. Stellar Blades, so yeah, gameplay absolutely phenomenal. Cannot say anything bad about it. Now, in terms of Stellar Blade's graphics, it looks visually phenomenal. I think that they absolutely outdid themselves graphically on this game. However, the cracks start to come when we talk about characters and story. The characters in this game are by far the worst thing about the game. Eve as a character is very just kind of there. She isn't really great or really bad. She's just kind of mid in terms of actually having character development or anything, because she's supposed to be like this angel, quote unquote, from the heavens that comes down and fights the Natibas, and that's like her whole mission. But like, there doesn't really seem to be much empathy or characters or character development for her outside of, she defeats the Natiba and you choose your ending kind of thing. Because there are moments in this game where you can choose the outcome of the ending. Then you have, Adam, who is by far the worst character of the game, who says things that makes no sense, like classic Eve after he's been with her for like an hour or two in the game. Like, what do you mean you act as if like you've known her for like fucking years, and that's not the case. Like, Adam is by far the worst character in this fucking game because his dialogue is shit. It is the most out of whack, bland. It feels like his character lines are so disconnected from Eve and what she's doing. It's absolutely bewildering. I think one of the best characters in the game is Artemis, or Lily. She is by far the best character in the game, easily the most energetic, empathetic, and has the most emotion in the game out of Eve or Adam. If I had to rate the top 3 characters, it would go Lily by far as the best. Eve's just kind of there in the middle. She's alright. And then Adam's dead fucking last because his fucking acting is shit. And I don't know if that's because it's Korean to English, translation, or if the writing is just that bad, but the writing was not very strong for the story. And as a Christian, I do respect that this game has a lot of biblical references and themes in it, but they don't really do much with it outside of just kind of, saying or labeling things as that, and that's really all there is to it. But essentially the game, it has you fighting Natibas, which are like this unknown enemy faction that are like alien/demonic in a way, but they really aren't either one of them. They're not demons and they're not aliens. And you come to find out in the late game that, these are human beings that somehow morphed into abominational creatures. And the physiology of these creatures make no sense. Like, when you look at them, you're like, that was a fucking human? Like, how did a human turn into fucking Sonic the Hedgehog? Like, I don't know how the fuck that happened. But in the lore, that's, I guess, how it is. Humans turned into the Natibas. And we come to find out that the Natibas are not what actually killed off humans. It was androids that humans built. An AI that fought a war against humanity. And humanity turned into Natibas to evolve to be able to fight their creations. And yeah, that is basically the major story at the end of the day, is humans turn into Natibas. They evolved and adapted to survive after their creations basically started wiping them out. And that's pretty much the story. But I have to tell you, in order to understand the story, you have to read a lot of codex entries. And on top of that, you have to actually pay attention to what's going on in the story. At the end, they kind of just tell you. But if you pay attention to the codex entries, like from the dead soldiers and stuff, you can clearly like put a picture together as the story goes along. Yeah, the story's not that great. I think that Stellar Blade, if they make a sequel, they need to very much do a much better job of the story. They need to write a better story. First and foremost. Secondly, please write your characters much better, because it was gosh awful. I'm gonna give Stellar Blade a 8 out of 10. While the story was not the best, and the characters' acting was pretty shite, it was still a fun game. The gameplay was phenomenal. The graphics were great. It performed well. I didn't encounter any game-breaking bugs or anything. There was obviously the controversy and stuff with the outfits and whatnot, but I'm not going to sit here and incorporate that into the game, because in all honesty, it has nothing to do with gameplay, the story, or anything like that. That's a whole other issue in and of itself. But the game is solid. If you're looking for a fun game with boss fights, engaging combat, and good graphics, and it plays well with no bugs, at least game-breaking bugs, this is a great game for you. But if you're looking for a very immersive story experience with great character development and the most amazing character lines known to man, this game will fucking drive you insane. I think it depends on what you want this game for. For me, I wanted a fun gameplay experience. I got that with Stellar Blade, and I got great graphics. And at the end of the day, while Eve's character was kind of poo-poo and Adam was absolute dog shit and Lily was pretty cool, even though that's the case, the gameplay was interesting. And the thing about the game is, most of the game is gameplay. There are very little cutscenes in this game. And they don't overstay the welcome. It's mainly gameplay. And the gameplay's solid. And that's why this game's getting an 8 out of 10 from me. It's a solid game. It's a good game. I think it's shift up focuses their future efforts on a Stellar Blade sequel into story and character development, I think that Stellar Blade 2 will be 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 material. Keep the graphics, keep the combat system, maybe improve or add some things to it. But outside of that, just work on the story and the character development. And I think ultimately if they do that, then Stellar Blade 2, if they decide to make a sequel, because it did sell a lot of copies, I think that the second game will do great if they just focus on those two major aspects. But ladies and gentlemen, that is my podcast for you guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Next time we go live, not live, but the next time we do a video, we'll be talking about Black Ops 6 probably. So expect the next podcast, I would say, let's see, if we're on the 31st day, expect the next podcast within 10 days to a few weeks. Like I said, unless anything crazy about Black Ops 6 happens between now to Call of Duty Direct and the Xbox Showcase, don't expect any major podcasts coming out from me. But once that showcase does happen, there will be plenty of content and stuff to talk about for sure. But thank you very much for listening. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next one.